And welcome to the Nug Life Podcast. I am your host, Dan Westside. As always, my co-host, Santiago Salazar is here. We're here to talk about your Denver Nuggets. No, it was a heartbreaking loss today, but there's still some good things to talk about despite the losing streak. Let's go ahead and jump into this. It all started this week. Raptors versus Nuggets. Started off good. Nuggets go out, beat a really good team. Do the Nuggets have an issue with playing to their competition's level, though?
All I can say about that game is it could have been three straight losses, or were we going on four straight losses if they didn't
They
get it together?
lost this one, yeah.
Yeah, so they got it together in that last 5 minutes. I mean, there were some things that went in the Nuggets' favor. Referees were on our side, but you never can complain about that, especially how bad it feels like that. They are against us with all the fouls that Jokic seems like he receives on a nightly basis, bro.
Yes.
You seen his arms all scarred up and looking like he's been, getting whipped or something. So it was a win where the referees were in our favor, but at the same time, I still feel like the Raptors did outplay the Nuggets for the majority of this game. It just seemed like every time the second unit went out there, they couldn't match with the Raptors' second unit, but they got the dub. Not to say, and I can't really say much for the next couple of games after that.
This really should have been a wake up game for a lot of us to notice that there's some serious holes in this roster. Not so much with the starting unit, even though KCP started to show some of the reason why we've had the discussions we've had about him and Bruce Brown on this show. But really, the second unit has been abysmal as of late. They've played flat. They haven't really done anything on the offensive or defensive side of the ball. There's not really been a guy that, like we were talking about, like one night it'd be Vlatko, next night it'd be Christian Brown, next night it'd be Bruce Brown. There doesn't seem to be that cast of characters that is willing to pass the baton. It always seems like they're pressing and they're trying to find their identity on that second unit, and it's really starting to cost the Nuggets here lately, especially. So,
Yeah, well,
that being said, like as much as we're wanting to jump on the Nuggets and them struggling, there's a little guy that doesn't seem to be getting a lot of the respect I think he does deserve. But is Fred VanVleet a little underrated? Like, did he show you a little extra?
oh, he's definitely underrated. I remember when we were previewing this game last Sunday. I
Yeah.
said they had Pascal Siakam, they had all these other names, and Fred Van Vliet was one of the names I didn't say. And so when I was watching this game, I was like, I can't believe I actually put this guy under the radar. He is an all-star. I do believe he has one all-star appearance, but he is the real deal. I just
Yes.
think maybe because he's undersized, not a lot of people give him that respect. But he's the reason why the Raptors moved on from Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry's moving up there in age, and Fred Van Vliet's pretty much the epitome of Kyle Lowry, just a younger version. So they went in the direction with Van Vliet. And the Raptors, I know they're a couple games, I think maybe just a game below 500. I know they're
32 and 34.
Oh yeah, so they're 32 and 34. I mean, it's not bad, especially in a competitive Eastern
No.
Conference. It's just at the same time they don't really have, I don't think, a connection. I mean, I know Pascal is an all-star himself, but would you really call those two a duo in Van Vliet and Pascal Siakam? I think it's more of a team that just plays by committee until they actually establish, some type of two-man chemistry, whoever that may be. If it's Scotty Barnes and Van Vliet, Pascal and Scotty Barnes, or wherever the combination may be. I think when they figure it out, you'll see them competing for championships once again.
Yeah, and I think the Raptors made one of the more under the radar moves, going out and essentially stealing Jakob Pertl,
Yeah.
and being able to put him in the middle of that starting lineup.
He's a Jokic stopper. He's a Jokic stopper.
He really gives Jokic trouble every single time. He is athletic enough and big enough to really give Jokic some trouble. So I'm kind of actually glad to see him over in the Eastern Conference. Maybe we don't have to deal with him nearly as much. So there's a good thing. Under the radar move, great. And I think really the Raptors are under the radar. This is a team that kind of reminds me of Cleveland a year ago. Like they're that team that seems like they're just maybe a guy away from really taking the league by storm. And they have a really good core. Like you said, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, Jakob Pertl now, Fred Van Vliet, and Scotty Barnes. That's their starting five. That is a solid starting five, no matter what conference or what division you're playing in. So the fact that this game was close, I don't think is nearly as bad as some people want to make it, but it definitely pointed to a lot of the issues and problems that the Nuggets might have, especially going into the playoffs. And a lot of that has to do with the fact they only put four guys off the bench on the floor at all. That was Reggie Jackson, who had 23 minutes, Bruce Brown at 20 minutes, Dunkel Jeff at 18 minutes, and Thomas Bryant at 11 minutes. And the only guy that scored double digits out of those four was Reggie Jackson, who is not there to score points. Like, it's nice when he does, but his job is to facilitate when Jamal Murray is not on the court. So with him leading in points off the bench, that's not a look you want. That's something that Bruce Brown, Dunkel Jeff, etc., should be doing in place of Reggie Jackson. If he's taking a lot of shots, there's some serious problems with that second unit.
Well, yeah, it
So
was that fourth quarter down the stretch, so they outscored them by 10. That was just the difference
yes,
maker in the end of the
yeah,
day.
it was like I think at one point it was like a 19-6 run in the fourth quarter, something like that, that got them ahead, and that's kind of been the Nuggets' mo. Unfortunately, it hasn't played out in the last three games, but their clutch defense leads the league when it comes to 5 minutes or less in the game being within 6 points. Is I believe what the criteria is. They have the best defense in the league, but you can't wait until the last five
Yeah.
minutes of the game to play defense. It's something you got to play from the opening tip off, and that's something that's truly annoying. And I believe is what led to the next game and a very bad
Mm.
loss against a meh team. Like, I don't want to say that they're terrible. I don't want to say the Bulls are a terrible team, but they're just a meh team, especially since they lost LeVar Ball. So, or Lonzo Ball, sorry. I said their dad for some reason, but there's so many L's. Give me a break.
Hey,
It's
man.
an LB, bro. They got like 50 of them over there. Leave me alone. So, but yeah, the Nuggets go out and they can just get absolutely shellacked by the Bulls at home. What was emptier? KCP's 5 points, 4 assists, and 3 rebounds in over 30 minutes, or Thomas Bryant's 10 points and then getting shut out in every other aspect of the game. Like, it's nice
Mhm.
that the kid went out there and got double digit points, but that's not what he's there for.
Yeah.
Sometimes I swear he forgets
Um,
that he's 7 foot.
well, there's two parts of a game when you're coming in and taking Jokic's minutes that are used, Jokic's reserve minutes, so to speak.
Right.
You can't just score points. You got to go out there and at least, I'm going to say, emulate Nikola because, I mean, I don't think anyone can emulate Nikola's game, but at least affect the game in a much other ways. KCP, he was
Yes.
rebounding the rock. He was dishing out, a couple assists. You said he had four. I think the
Mhm.
emptiest part about his stat line was only scoring 5 points. We definitely needed a little more energy on the scoring end. But Thomas Bryant not able to get, any kind of amount of boards or out there and affect the game in any type of way besides scoring 10 points. But he couldn't really stop no one. I mean, the Bulls just went on a
Yes.
crazy run towards the end of the third quarter, and it just broke open by the time the fourth quarter started. And we lost by what? It was 109 to 88, something around there. It is just ridiculous how the Nuggets, a team who has been such fast paced and efficient offensively throughout the year, can only amass 88 points through a four quarter, even in today's NBA. Back then, maybe 10 years ago, that would be
They
insane just to
to
score
really
88 points.
nail that point home for you, they had 4 fast break points in this game.
It's ridiculous.
The leading team in the NBA in fast break points had 4
Mhm.
against the Bulls.
And
One
it's
of the
just,
slower teams in the NBA.
I don't know. I wouldn't want to give the Bulls too much credit. I just think it was that type of night for the Nuggets where you're gonna have bad nights. It's the NBA. It's an 82 game season. I think that's where everyone needs to be reassured that it is a long season. I know I've been hearing a lot of panicking, especially with the little skid that the Nuggets have left. They left a little skid mark on the season. Not every underwear is clean, and they
Mhm.
and they left it. They're definitely leaving one right now.
Yeah,
It's a long season though. I don't hit the panic
yeah.
button. Don't worry about it. We've had some great wins this season. There's just sometimes you go through these stretches, and that was the beginning of this terrible stretch. Was
Yeah, this
letting the Bulls break open that crazy lead towards the end of the
bad
third quarter.
final. Yeah, bad final. Probably, I'd say 6 days of the week.
Yeah,
It started off really good. Had that great game, the comeback against the Raptors, and then it just definitely everything went downhill. Now,
yeah.
I will say that I believe that this was the peak of the stink. Like the other two games weren't nearly as bad. This one just stank to high
Mhm.
heaven. They lost 117 to 96. You allow
Oh
Patrick
man,
Williams. Tell me, tell me, did you know who Patrick Williams was before this game? No, you didn't know who Patrick Williams was before this game, but he scored 18 points, which was more than Thomas Bryant, Christian Brown, Ish Smith, Jack White, and Reggie Jackson combined.
yeah, that's
He
tough.
did that by himself. You're going to get whooped if you allow a Patrick Williams to outscore almost your entire bench. That was everybody that came off the bench but two. That I included everybody but Bruce Brown and Jeff Green that he outscored combined. Those are the only two guys left, and they scored 9 and 6 respectively. That's
Yeah.
never going to get it done.
Hey, did you know Patrick Beverly was with the Bulls? I didn't know that. I didn't know he got picked up by the Bulls. He put some type of minutes in there, but he wasn't really. I mean, he's just a key name, I guess, to point out. The Bulls are 30 and
Yeah,
36, though. This is just ridiculous how bad that the Nuggets lost to a team that I wouldn't say has nothing to play for. They can try to make a little run,
yeah. I mean,
going.
to your point, Patrick Beverly is a starter. He's
Yeah,
the starter in this game. That tells you how bad things have gotten in Chicago
yeah.
when you have to go and get a guy off the scrap heap to be your second guard.
I mean,
And he's a guy that's been a perennial bench player his entire life.
look at their reserves, as you said. Patrick Williams, who's a young guy, but he scores 18 points on your head, and Andre Drummond, who didn't do anything in this game, but the mere fact that you're losing to a team that
Five
is using
rebounds to
a,
Thomas's zero.
a washed up Andre Drummond, a team that possesses a washed up Andre Drummond, put a smackdown on you. Now, I'm not giving
Yeah.
Andre Drummond any type of credit, but this shows how bad the Bulls
Hey,
team
he
was.
outplayed our backup center. I mean,
Yeah,
this is the game. We just talked about Thomas Bryant getting 10 and 0. Like, this man at least put up a little bit of something. He put up 2 points, had a block, had an assist, and 5 rebounds.
yeah, it was.
That's about what you can expect from an average NBA backup center. You know, so Thomas Bryant, like it's nice that you can score some points here and there, kid, but your job is not to come in and score 20. Your job is to come in and stop the other guy, the Patrick
Mm.
Williamses of the world, from scoring 18.
So,
That is what your job is. So
how, how important is DeAndre Drummond? Or DeAndre Drummond, DeAndre Jordan. I'm sorry, I'm getting on a bunch of Andres and DeAndres all mixed
P's
up.
and stuff going on there.
Yeah, and a little bit of dyslexia. It's all right.
It's all right.
We all have our own flaws. But
Right.
DeAndre Jordan, how much does this show how important he is? Just backing up Nikola Jokic, because even DeAndre Jordan and his age, even though his knees have given up a little bit, he's not Lob City DJ anymore. He's still
Mhm.
going to put effort out there, and I'm pretty sure Patrick Williams isn't walking away with 18 points.
Agreed. And I think this is the game that really started this narrative for me. And we're gonna pay it to fruition once we get to today's game. Is that man? Where has Christian Brown been? Why has he gotten such little minutes when the Nuggets were rolling at their finest this season? When they were just steamrolling teams for months on end, it was Christian Brown giving the spark off the bench. But ever since they gotten fully healthy and they picked up Reggie Jackson and Thomas Bryant, somehow CB has been pushed to the background, and I did not like it. I haven't liked it for a while, but the Nuggets were winning, so I wasn't saying anything. But now I am. And again, once we get to today's game, I will tell you exactly why, and we will have proof of why I was right starting in this game. But before we get there, let's go ahead and move on to the next game, which is the Nuggets versus the Spurs. This is the one. This
No,
is the game that I did predict the Nuggets to lose. This is one I said that they would lose because I believed it would be a trap game, and it was. And
no,
it
no.
ended up being,
You answer me
unfortunately,
this:
yes.
did you speak it into existence, or did you jinx it? Because I remember this was the game you chose for them not to win when we did our
Yes, I
prediction.
did. Yeah, I predicted for them to win against the Raptors and the Bulls and then lose against the Spurs because I saw the trap happening. It was an away game. It was in San Antonio. They never play good. And I don't know what it is. It does not matter how bad San Antonio is. For some reason, they lose their mind whenever they go south towards the border. Once they get into San Antonio, they just forget how to play basketball. I swear.
It always
I'm
seems like San Antonio and Portland. I feel like those are the
Yes,
two
those two
venues
places.
just
Yes,
like we never can get one away from one of those guys.
exactly.
So
No
I
matter how bad they are. And this is a very bad San Antonio Spurs team. This was not like the Bulls where it was like, okay, I understand how they could lose to that team. They're not a great team, but they're still a decent team. This, no sense, nonsensical. I don't care how you try to slice this. It makes no sense at all. They should not ever lose these games. These are games that they have to win. And now we have to deal with the Kendrick Perkins, the SpongeBob SquareFaces of the world. And I'm really tired of it. I'm tired of hearing it, but this is where we're at because it's that time of the season. And to me, it feels like a team that is bored. Like as much as everybody talks about how the Warriors are playing bored because they're so good at home and they're bad on the road, I really think it has. I think the Nuggets are really to that point now. It's like they've just handled the Western Conference so handily all season. It just feels to me like they're getting bored, and it's at the worst possible moment. Am I wrong?
I want to say bored. I just think what's a different word we can use? I know they're ready for the playoffs. Let's use that. I want to say bored because if you're going to get caught off guard, you get caught off guard like that. You can never be bored during this type of season. We could say that they're not playing with as much effort, because they have the Western Conference first seed by a mile, man. It's just no one's going to catch up at this point. I think the Kings and the Grizzlies are both 6.5 games behind the Nuggets, even though that the Nuggets have dropped these last couple of games. And there's only about 15 games left in the season. I think it's the mere fact that it's not seeing what you don't have the ultimate goal too far away from you. And that was your being the first seed in the Western Conference. Now, by the time the playoffs start, you better get whatever this is called, boredom, or not playing with effort out of your system, because now your new goal is to advance the next round, eventually to where you're already competing for a Larry O'Brien. So right now, I don't think that their main goal, they're not really goal oriented at this time, because they know that they've achieved their goal for the regular season, and that is to lock up that first seed. Now,
Yeah, that's the thing that's exactly where I was going with is that they're a team that they've essentially even with the slide that they've had, they're not quite six. It's 5 games difference between the Kings and the Grizzlies and the Nuggets, but it's actually even bigger than that because they own the season series against both of those teams, so they have the tiebreaker on top of it. So even if those teams were able to tie the Nuggets, they still get the number one seed because they have the tiebreaker. So yeah, that's exactly where I was going. Is that they've locked up the number one seed essentially. Like they can still lose it if they just essentially lose out. The other teams win out. Knock on wood.
yeah,
All that good stuff. We're not
where's
trying
your
to
wood?
juju it or bad juju it or anything
Where's
like
your
that.
wood?
I got some right here.
We got it, man. We
All
got
right,
it, the wood, man.
yeah, yeah.
You already jinxed us with the Spurs, man. You already,
Hey, that was jinx. That was that. I mean, that was the Dan Stradamus coming at
yeah,
me.
that
You know
was,
what I'm saying?
that
So,
was,
you know,
yeah.
that's just me being perceptive. Like I don't see it as a jinx or a curse or anything. I was honest. Hey, I also said that they would beat the Bulls. So if I was sitting here and I had magic, they would be 2-1 this week, or
Yeah.
they wouldn't be on a three
One
game
and
losing
two.
streak.
If
They'd
you
be on
one
a
and
two
two,
games. Right,
yeah,
exactly. They'd be on a 2 game losing streak, not one. So or three. So all those things being said, the Spurs is a game that I was I mean, they're nice to have if it's in a vacuum. And the one thing that we have touted about this Nuggets team is their resilience. They very, very rarely, and I do not say that, with any type of bluster, they very rarely lose back to back games. They have lost back to back games 4 times all year. And that includes this current 3 game losing streak. They have only lost 3 games in a row one other time. That was the first 3 games in December. That's it. That is how consistently good they have been all year. That's why I think so many in Denver are freaking out about this. Like, I don't want to go down that road. I am not a person that is freaking out. I don't like it. It's not a good look, but you still got 2 weeks of the season worth of games. There's over a month and a half almost when it's all spread out and said done, but you have roughly about 14, 15 games left. There's plenty of time to get this out of their system. And every once in a while, you need a reality check. And I really think that that's what this is. This is Coach Malone and this Denver Nuggets team getting a reality check that they are not perfect, they're not where they need to be, and that they need to do what Coach Malone champions. One of his favorite sayings is championship habits, creating those championship habits every single day, not losing games back to back, not losing 3, 4, 5 games in a row. All of these things, making sure that you're coming to the game focused on that game and that game only, not looking ahead to the next one. All of these little things tend to lead themselves to a championship caliber roster. And they've done it for most of the season. It just seems like over these last couple of games, they really kind of strayed away from all of that.
Yeah, remember at the beginning of the year where the we had that bad stretch of games early on when they got blown out by Portland when they started that game up by like 19-4 or something, and it was just a bad couple of road losses. Then they showed that they could get it together and eventually competing for the first seed. I mean, there was a point where the Nuggets were like fifth or sixth. I mean, I know the Utah Jazz were shocking everybody. They were the first seed for like the first month or month and a half of the regular season. The Grizzlies came out ready to ball. So there were a couple teams that started the year off hot. And the Nuggets, they were a little shaky when it started off. But then they got it together and they started collecting win after win after win. They weren't losing, as you said, back-to-back games. They were getting it together. But it's not how you start. It's about how you finish. You don't want to be experienced that little blunder that you had at the beginning of the year towards the end. And so if whatever you call it, not caring or being bored, they got to get that out of them real quick, because there are some teams that really want to. The Kings haven't been in the playoffs for almost 17 years right now, man, and they're showing a lot of heads. That's the last thing you want to do is lose a series against a team that wants it more when this is their first time in 17 years making the playoffs, and you've been in the playoffs for 7 consecutive years. So I think go time. The Spurs game was just a bad defensive game, same as the Chicago Bulls game. Just bad defense, man. It used to be if you scored 120 points, you automatically won. Now it seems like you got to score 130 the way the Nuggets defense have been this last half week.
Yeah, I think this game put them. I think this was like only the second game they've lost where they scored 120 points or more. So yeah, you're right. It was almost automatic that the Nuggets won. Same thing with the triple doubles. This was one of
the first game.
They were undefeated. Yeah, this is the first game that he lost with a triple double, and I think a lot of that can be good. Like I don't want to be the overly optimistic guy, like saying that the glass is half full when the entire diner is burning down around me. Like I'm not that guy. I'm a very big proponent of being a realist, not letting yourself get caught up in the moment, not trying to get too big, too low, all those things. So this to me feels like a good time to get it out of your system. Because if you look back in history and just in sports in general, not just even basketball, if you look back and look at the hottest teams going in to the playoffs, they typically end up being the team that peters out first. Mm-hmm. When you like we were just talking about last week on Breaking Broncos with Dylan, when we're talking about the Minnesota Vikings back in the 90s when they fell a game short of the Super Bowl and lost to the Falcons before the Falcons went and lost to the Broncos when they won back-to-back. The Colorado Rockies more recently, 2007. They won 23 or 24 games and go in and get swept in the World Series.
Yeah. How about
they have a week off?
How about the 2011 Green Bay Packers? They go 15-1.
Another one, yes.
They sit on their ass for that bye week because they were the first seed in the NFC. Then Eli and them boys go. They were 9-7, and they go beat the crap out of them. And that's I think one that gets lost in translation is how good that pack, because they were coming off the Super Bowl, I think, that year.
Yeah, that's actually the season that the Giants did that to 2 teams, because they did it to the Packers you're talking about, and then they went off and beat the undefeated Patriots in the Super Bowl. So that's a great example. That's a great it always seems to be that team that goes in with that ridiculous winning streak, that unseen before. They always run out of gas before the championship, almost. Like I'm sure there's probably somebody can go back in history and find an example or two where it worked out. But again, That's an outlier. That's an exception. That's not the rule. So that's why I say a situation like this, the 3 game losing streak, and again, it's only the second time it's happened, people. The sky is not falling. They still have a 5 game lead on first place with only 15 games left to go. It is not the end of the world. Now, if they go off and yes, it's terrible. They got a 5 game road trip coming up and all that stuff. It could be bad if that keeps steamrolling, rolling down the hill, snowballing. But I don't see it happening. So everybody, let's take a page out of the Aaron Rodgers darkness retreat and relax. That's all I'm
Pass the
saying.
ayahuasca. Pass the ayahuasca. No, don't do that. I'm just playing. No,
Pass the pipe.
I don't know.
Pass the peace pipe.
I don't know if I'm ready for that.
I don't know either. Not
That
for
dude.
whatever AA Ron is smoking. I don't know if I'm
Man,
ready for that.
no, but before we get back to basketball, that dude Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's having a lot
I
of
opened up a wormhole. Go ahead.
yeah, a lot of news has obviously been circulating, especially this time of year, the last 3 years. Denver, we were involved with that talk. I'm kind of glad that we never ended up getting that guy because I don't know if Denver, the mile high city, would be the best
Bro.
place for. I think he would be stupid gone. Like,
Especially with
and
Jake Plum and his mushroom farm out there.
with all due respect, man, I don't.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers is at that age to where I think he's just the type of guy. Like he's like what's his name from Eastbound and Down, Kenny Powers. He
Yes.
just doesn't
Yes.
care. He's just like whatever. I do this for a living, and more power to him. It is an awesome job to be a professional athlete at any level of any sport.
Yes.
But as fans, we kind of want you to have a different point of view and go win some championships, not looking forward to the first Percocet you find after the game. And I feel
I'm trying to
that,
say.
and I think that's what Aaron
Oh,
Rodgers has
hey,
turned
in
into.
some cases, he might not even wait till after the game. There's
I
still
heard
that
that.
famous after game interview. You know what I'm saying? So,
I heard
hey,
that. Hey man, I saw
sometimes
a
he don't
thing.
even wait. And,
I
and
saw.
again, we got Jake Plummer out here growing mushrooms, fellow quarterback. I mean, hey, I agree with you. It could have got real bad real quick. I don't know if we even won 4 games last year because
I
homeboy would have been in the darkness retreat somewhere out in Fort Lupton with mushrooms and special teas and shit.
I saw a thing. I saw a thing with Patrick Mahomes where it was like, when he's having the injury, the dealing with the ankle throughout the postseason, and it was in the Super Bowl, and they were like before the injury, or no, before the Percocet, and then after the Percocet, and it was just him like all geeked out throwing a touchdown pass, his tongue's all everywhere, just like, oh man, this dude. And midway through the game, I feel like they are getting these guys sedated just to see if they can go out there and play through the numb.
Oh, good. Yeah, I don't think that's something to be debated. But let's go ahead and move on from the hippie to the chippy, and that is the fight that we saw from MPJ. I guess the fight's
Uh,
probably a strong word. A little
I
bit
would
of a
call it a
push
fight.
fest.
They a little
Yeah, a little bit of a push fest.
WWE headbutt, the
Yeah, yeah,
WWE.
between MPJ and Collins there. Did you? And I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of like, oh, who did what, who deserves. Like we all know, Collins deserved to be ejected. MPJ didn't. It was a reaction. We're not going to
Yeah,
debate that. What I want to know is, do you like the fight that was
man.
shown at MPJ?
I
I
didn't
ain't
see a
seen the
fight.
rawness in him.
I didn't really see no fight in MPJ like that. I think he was one of those guys who, yeah, you can write the check, but he wasn't ready to cash it, man. I love MPJ, but Zach
Yes,
Collins, he might look like he's a little preppy Gonzaga guy, but you know what? He's ready for the smoke, man. And it's funny
I
because
know about all that though.
I
He
can't stand
got
Zach
out of
Collins.
that
You
real
know,
quick.
he's like he's ready for the smoke for this generation, I guess. A lot of lofty guys. He looked more intimidating than most of these guys did. I'll give him that. I'll give him that. I can't stand Zach
Yeah,
Collins though. I don't want you to mistake thinking I'm trying to
no,
back him up. But he was in Portland
no,
talking
I
that
got
crap
you.
with Will Barton in the playoff
Yeah,
series. And but the thing about Zach Collins is he's similar like a Draymond. Yeah, he's against you, but if that guy was on your team, like hell, you kind of would want some of this like little dog. I mean, I don't know. No one really knows what a dog is nowadays. You know what I mean?
no, I don't think they really do.
There's no Rajon Rondos or KGs or Shaquille O'Neals anymore. You replace that with like Patrick Beverly, the guys who rip off their shirt after they win a playing game. They didn't no real dogs. So Zach Collins is the fake dog, but at the
Yeah.
same time, I think he looked a little more. I don't know, man. MPJ kind of disappointed me though, because he looked a little shook, and Zach Collins looked a little shook too. I just don't think either one of them was really ready for the other, but it
Yeah, I
looked to
mean,
me that Zach Collins was ready for the smoke more than MPJ.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
I
I
don't
don't
know
know.
about that. Because like I said, like MPJ, I mean, he pushed, he was going back at him. I,
That
I
poster
did
was
not
nice
see
though.
Zach Collins. Yeah, I didn't see Zach Collins move forward after that punch to the throat. Like,
All right,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
after that, it was just like he was like,
yeah.
oh wow, he actually pushed me back. Like,
Yeah,
I think he really thought he because like MPJ, he doesn't have that dog in him. Like,
yeah.
he's just not that guy. And I think it's
Soft
like crazy.
spoken
Like
type
people
of
don't
guy.
realize just how big MPJ is. Like Zach Collins is a center in this league,
Seven
and
foot, 7 foot.
he's eye to eye with MPJ, and like MPJ did not give up. MPJ's bigger than him. He's wider, and I think that was the reason like MPJ went without a shirt in pre-games today. Like I noticed that. Like I'd never seen MPJ out there without a shirt. Like he was out there like
Oh, he was mad.
just like that. Yeah, he
He
was
was
like, "I'm going to show you. I got some." It was kind of
mad.
funny,
He
right?
was.
But that's what I like the fact that he was willing to push back.
Someone
And
needs to
I
give him
will
some
say this.
ayahuasca.
Yeah, I will say this. Collins is not running up on AG. If that is
Oh
AG,
no.
because like, and that's the thing is like, if you go back and watch the replay, when Zach Collins reevaluated his decision was when AG came up behind
Yeah,
MPJ, and he realized that then Dreads was ready to fly.
yeah,
He didn't want nothing to do with AG, so that's why I called BS on Zach Collins and what he said after the game, where he's like, "I was ready." You saw how I Bruce Lee, like, no, you didn't, bro. You took that straight to the neck.
you know,
Even in slow motion, you took that straight to the
he,
neck, bro. You ain't do no Bruce Lee stuff. Like, what are
you
you
know what?
talking about?
I give him a little credit for wanting to smoke a little bit, but if you're gonna go, go at someone, that's like if you're carrying a
Bro,
firearm
like,
and you
no.
up it at someone. If you up it at someone, now this is might
I'm
be my
saying,
my terrible inner city mindset, but if you up it at someone and you don't shoot, then you just look like the most automatic, whatever you want to call it. You don't
yeah, no, I got you.
complete opposite of a dog. And so if you're
Yeah,
gonna run up and throw your fist on someone and not swing and not really want to follow through with it, like come on. So I can see that. He does that a lot though. He does
a
run
lot
his
of
mouth,
no
thinks
bite.
he's tough.
Yeah,
I remember who it was the Warriors playing the Blazers, and I remember Klay Thompson was just laughing at him like, dude, who are you? Like you really want to talk? You want to talk this crap and all this? Like, who are you again? Like, no one knows you. And
right,
yeah, it's cool to be a tough guy, but it is a reason why no one knows you and why you play on the bench, so you can run your mouth all you
right.
want. You can try to get the spotlight on you, uh, but keep it on the court. At the end of the day, if you're not going to really bring that action and you're not going to really be about it, then just stay in your lane and don't make yourself
Yeah,
look like a fool.
I agree, and that's why like it irritates me. Honestly, with 99% of basketball players, because like none of them are about that life.
No,
Like, just let's
you
just
know,
keep it real. Like, no
I
disrespect. Like, y'all rich. It's okay. You don't have
yeah,
to be about. It's like that Boondocks episode where they're talking about like difference between like inward moments and white people. Like, what am I doing? I'm white. Why would I fight you and destroy my
yeah,
life? Like,
this is a
that's the
perfect
mentality.
opportunity to ruin both our lives.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I'm glad you with me, brother.
Yeah, yeah, I know exactly. I'm not lost, bro.
Like they all like every NBA, NFL, MLB, etc. player, every professional athlete needs to have that mentality. Like,
Yeah,
oh, I'm rich. Like, why do I care? Say whatever you want. Do whatever you want. Whether it's on Twitter, whether it's in my face, I don't care. I'm rich. My life is still better than yours. Like, why are these people worried about what the troll on Twitter has to say? You're rich, people. Get over it. Go to your yacht. Go out on the ocean and get away from everybody if you have to. Do what Aaron does and go to a freaking cave in the middle of nowhere. Whatever you got to do, man, get over it. I cannot understand how these folks allow just, I don't want to say it, like just the average Joe to get to them. It's like, bro, just
you know,
remember you're rich.
what I
Just do
think a
that.
lot of it has to do, and it's not even just athletes, just anyone in general who gets to that type of little bit of fame and
Yes.
notoriety. they had surround themselves with people that are not going to tell them no. And I think we might have talked about it a couple weeks ago. Or, Charles Barkley and Michael Jordan used to be really good, close friends. And Charles Barkley, he's a very controversial, outlandish, a media guy, a basketball player turned media guy. And this is why I kind of respect him. Unlike a Kendrick Perkins, and Charles Barkley was actually on Altitude earlier this week. But unlike Kendrick Perkins, he
Yeah.
just doesn't say anything for clicks. He's not clickbait. He's gonna
He says
tell
some
you,
crazy stuff, but
yeah,
it's just something he honestly
yeah.
believes. Yeah, I'm right there with you.
And as controversial or as stupid it may seem, he'll tell you what he really believes. He'll actually do his job. And so with Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, he commented on one of those NBA on the Inside TNT that he's a great basketball player, great whatever, but as a GM and president and owner, he's nowhere near that. That's the reason why he's Danny Ainge of GMing, and Danny Ainge is Michael Jordan of GM, and it's just
Yeah.
exact opposites. And Jordan, I guess, called Barkley up and said, what are you supposed to be my boy, man? What is this? And that's why Barkley and Jordan are no longer cool, because some of those guys like that got that big egos on top of the world. This is Michael Jordan we're talking about.
Can't take
They
it.
want to be
All right.
surrounded by people who are never going to tell them no, never going to criticize them. They want to be
Yes.
surrounded by people what they want to hear, not what they need to hear. And that's what a lot of these guys are. These little Twitter fingers and social media dudes.
Yes. Kevin Durant's a great example. I mean, how many
Yeah.
burner accounts did he have? Like,
Yeah.
I just cannot understand it. Like, I mean, I guess people can, you can say that maybe I'm not emotionally intelligent enough or whatever the case may be. Like, I don't get it. Maybe
Yeah.
it's because I've just been broke and raised up in the hood and the ghetto and whatever else, whatever the case may be. My own mindset, my own preconceived notions, but I just can't get it. If I had that much to lose, you could not make me lose it. You
Yeah.
could not do it. Like there's nothing you could do to me. Like I would literally just walk away and be like, "Yeah, I'm still rich, bitch." Like
Yeah.
that's my only response that you would ever get from me.
I like it. I like it. I like
That's
it.
all you would ever get. Like
I
I
like
just
it.
that's my psyche. That's all I can do.
You know,
I would give you
or
Dave Chappelle every
you could keep the keep to leave mentality. Like, you know what? Yeah, we're not doing it in front of everybody. Let's leave it behind closed doors. Remember when he pulled Crabtree's chain, and then I don't remember who the hell else it was. What was it? The one who it was against the Colts, wasn't it? Where
yeah,
and then he was like, we got the same agent. I'm gonna find him.
yeah,
We got the same agent. I'm gonna
that
bust his ass.
receiver that he poked in the eye. Yeah,
Yeah, it was. Man, no,
I forget.
who was it? No, it was actually the one where Chris Harris Jr. got cheap shotted, and Akeem Talib ran
Oh
over. You remember
yeah,
that? I'm trying
yeah,
to think.
yeah.
It might have been Harry Douglas who did that. I'm trying to think.
Something like that. Yeah,
It was,
I
yeah,
can't
but
remember exactly who.
guys, if you really want to handle it, I mean, you guys got each other's phone numbers. I'm pretty sure you got, all this nonsense is that Colin saying I'm ready. Like, man, you can get a hold of MPJ. You can get a hold of a lot of these NBA dudes who have a fight on the court and then you never hear about it ever again. Like, you guys have contact information along the
I
line.
got the name.
Let me hear.
Dwayne Allen, tight end.
Dwayne Allen?
Dwayne Allen.
Allen?
Yeah,
Okay.
he did the chop block on Chris Harris,
Yeah.
and then Akeem came up because he was in Von Miller's face, and then Akeem came up and poked him right
Yeah.
back.
See, and Keith Talib was about keeping it behind closed doors. I mean, I know he didn't say that to the reporter, but
Right.
at the same time, I'm pretty sure something went on behind the sscenes. A lot of these guys
Oh, yeah.
have the opportunity to do that, but they choose not to. They choose to just make all this little, uh, social
It's all
media,
about the social media clout. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Oh,
Twitter fingers,
it's
and all
gross.
that nonsense. I mean, the
And
John
I
Morant.
was forced to watch. Sorry, this is going to go off on a tangent, but
Go
now
ahead,
it's
go
going
ahead.
to bring up social media.
Go ahead.
For what I call my Buddhism in business class, because that's essentially what it is. It's like I'm learning the chakras of business. It's great, but
Yeah.
it made me watch The Social Dilemma as part of my curriculum. If y'all don't know what that is, it's a documentary. Well, it's like a dramumentary. It's like a hybrid between a documentary and a drama, made by these guys in Boulder about social media and what it's done. And like they got a bunch of guys, like engineers from Twitter and Facebook and Google to talk about the inner workings of those places and how they've created these social media platforms to be as addicting as possible. Like that, watching that blew my mind and made me think of things in such a different light and
So
makes me realize why these fools have lost their minds on
what's it
social media.
called? What's it called?
It's
Can I
called It's called The Social Dilemma. It's on Netflix. If you
it's
have
on
Netflix, you can get it.
all right.
And it's also like you can also find it free all over the places. It
I,
was originally a documentary.
and
It's
I
really
know
good.
I know
You
what I'm
gotta
gonna
watch
make
it.
my girl watch. I know what I'm gonna make my girl watch. I'm
Yes,
like,
oh
see
my,
what they're
it's gonna
doing?
will
I
jack you
knew
up. It's great.
this.
It's
I knew
really
this.
good. Yeah, it's really because like it's like the documentary side is like where they're doing all the documentary filmmaking, but then they also have like they interject these like scenes of like this family and like the family struggling with social media and having like the three like the the little preteen that's obsessed with Instagram and get and the filters and stuff, and then they have a teen boy that gets caught up in like the right wing politics, and then the older liberal big sister and stuff like they interject that. It's really really good. If y'all have not watched it, y'all need to. It's absolutely good. I've been wanting to watch it for a while, but like I said, I was forced to watch it. So if you want to learn the inner workings of social media and how these places have created the algorithms for each individual person to be as addictive to that specific person, each one of us, they have an algorithm that's meant to be as addicting as possible for each and every one of us. We're essentially all a bunch of Truman shows to social media. It's really crazy the way that they break it down. So
Oh
I'm
man,
go ahead.
it's like population control, man. They know how to control this, man. They know how to
Really,
control
dude, yes, that's the whole purpose of
it.
this. And like I said, watch it. I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole because I could spend hours talking about
I
that
feel
movie
you.
right now. But yes, go watch it again. The Social Dilemma on Netflix, or you can just Google it and find it for free if you don't have Netflix. You can find it there. But let's get back to basketball and the fight on the court. We watched today a heartbreaking loss
Ah,
against the Nets at home. Last home game before a 5 game road trip over the next 10 days. Was this as crushing as it felt, or is it a bit of an overreaction to say it's heartbreaking?
uh, when you lose by 2 points, that's always a heartbreak, man. Especially that third quarter where they outscored the Nuggets like 37-18. I know what's up with the Nuggets in these quarters where they get just obliterated.
And the third quarter, especially.
Oh, they just get obliterated. Like they're playing the team so nicely. They went into the half, I think, with a like 60 or 60 to 69 halftime lead. I don't remember. It was 60 to 69, 50 to 59. I know it was about 8 or 9 point lead going into half. And then they come out,
The last second shot by Jamal Murray there.
man. It's just so depressing, man. It really is. It's just when they lose those type of games. Now this is not a panic. I'm just because you're depressed doesn't mean you're panicking. I wouldn't say.
Right.
It's short term depression for a little bit. I
It
think
just
you'll get
happened.
over it. It happens, especially when you're fully invested into this team as we are, as the viewers are. It sucks to
Yes.
lose. I think anyone can agree with this that you hate losing more than you love winning. At least that's how I see it. And if
I mean,
you,
any true competitor, I believe, feels that
yeah,
way.
and if you don't believe me when I say that, just remember your next reaction for when you win a game, and remember the next reaction to when you lose a game. Your reaction to when you lose is just going to be way more passionate and more powerful, more emotional. When you win, you get a little cocky, yeah, but when you lose, it's just 10 things, 10 different kind of emotions coming out, and especially losing the 2 point loss to the Nets. The Nets, I'm not gonna lie, they're still a nice team. Now they're not Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving competitive, and not competing for any championships. But Mikal Bridges is, since that trade has really gone off. He has been playing
Averaging
probably
25 points a game almost.
his best basketball. Now I don't even say in his NBA career, probably in his basketball career. Period. Of
Quite possible.
compared to when he was in Villanova and all those years, and he was a baller in Villanova.
Yeah.
So he's been going nuts. Nick Claxton, he's a young guy who's a real good rim protector. They did
Showing some things, really.
Spencer Dinwiddie's still there. They have a good team. It's just the Nuggets couldn't find a way to win this game because of that third quarter. They didn't lock in. They didn't listen to the coach adjustments, and that's fine right now, but when it comes to playoff time, you're going to have to adjust and you're going to have to execute. Execution is going to be key because if you don't execute, you'll find yourself out of the playoffs sooner than you want to be.
Yeah. Remember how I told you I was going to pay off something from earlier?
Mhm.
When Christian Brown entered this game, the Nuggets were down by 15 points. He did not exit the game after that, and the Nuggets lost by two. Can you explain to me why it took until almost the fourth quarter for that man to get a touch on the rock? Until they had a 15-point deficit,
That
but that
was
man
just
did not touch the rock.
that was I wouldn't want to call it a desperation move, but it was a move from Malone where he was thinking, all right, we need something. We need at least to play for our pride. We can't go on a 3 game skid. Let me switch things up. I feel the reason why Reggie Jackson has been playing a lot more. I mean, we all noticed ever since Reggie Jackson was acquired, Christian Brown's playing time has gone down because when it comes playoff time, that's going to be the rotation in the lineup. Michael Malone's going to want to use. He's going to want the experience. As much as we love Christian Brown, he's inexperienced. He's a young guy, and he's not going to get those minutes. But after today, bringing that statistic up, they were down by 15. Then he comes in, and the Nuggets lose by 2. It should be showing not just Malone, but some of these assistant coaches that Christian, give this kid a chance, more of a chance to, run a couple of lineups. If we go into a game and there's a situation like this in the postseason, then we know who our secret weapon is in Christian Brown, and he's a guy who can definitely keep us in the game or get us back into a game after a large deficit.
Yeah, just look at the one play where he almost single-handedly tied this game up between him and Jokic. It was where he blocked, I believe it was Finney Smith trying to go to the hoop. He blocked him. Jokic got the rebound, and then Finney Smith fouled Jokic, which if Jokic would have hit both of those free throws, would have tied the game at 121-121.
Yeah, it was
So,
tough. That's one of the very rare
how many
moments.
times has he done that? Like, how many times has Christian Brown come in and completely changed the complexion of the game? Like, him and Bruce Brown, especially when they're together, there's just a different type of feel to them on the court. There's a different level of energy and excitement and athleticism that you just can't get when you have Bruce Brown, Jeff Green, Reggie Jackson, and what either Thomas Bryant or DeAndre Jordan. Like, there's just something different that happens when Christian Brown comes on the court. Like, I understand Malone has always leaned towards veterans. He's always been a guy, especially in the playoffs, that's going to lean the veteran way. But every once in a while, you've got to make an exception to the rule. And I think Christian Brown has shown the perfect mentality to do that. He is doing what you would have hoped that Bones would have done.
Yeah.
This is a kid that came out, didn't get very much time on the court at the beginning of the season. When injuries happened, he came on the court, and the more his minutes expanded, the better he got, the more impact he made. Then a bunch of veterans come in. He loses all of those, not just some, he loses all of those minutes. Essentially goes and withers on the end of the bench for the better part of a month, and then comes in again in a game that they're down by 15 points and somehow is able to will them back into it. Yes, again, you got to give a lot of credit to Jokic and MPJ and Aaron Gordon, especially with the loss of Jamal Murray. Happened to go in about 5 minutes left in the third quarter with the sore left knee. Like, that was scary. So just give the kid some time. That's my only thing. Like, I hate questioning Coach Malone because he's usually so good and there's usually so little that you can really jump on him for. But this is one thing that's drove me nuts. Again, they've been winning, so I haven't said anything, but now I am. 3 losses in a row. Get the kid minutes. He needs to be in the rotation both now and in the playoffs. Period.
Yeah, if the Nuggets had came back and won this game, it would have been a lot of credit due to Christian Brown. I mean, in 12 minutes compared to Reggie Jackson 17, he had 7 points. Reggie had 2.
Yes.
He had 3 boards. Through that energy, he played that entire fourth quarter essentially.
Yes.
Um, but the reason why the Nuggets lost is that third quarter and points in the paint. The Nuggets were
Yes.
outscored in the points in the paint by 20 plus points. I think it was like 56 to
Can't do
34 or something like that.
Yeah, I
And
think you're pretty damn close, if not exactly right.
there was a point in the Spurs game where the Nuggets were getting outs and they got it together. And the points in the paint against the two teams, the tail of the tape looks way better than it actually was through the sample size of the game. Because there was a point where the Nuggets were getting outscored by 30 plus points in the paint against the Spurs. So that has been
Right.
something that has been real key for the Nuggets. They need to get together. Nikola cannot be the only one. Nikola and Aaron Gordon, because Aaron Gordon, we know how much he loves to dunk the ball. So a lot of that points in the paint is coming from him. Nikola, big guy, we see he's a three-level scorer. Most of his points come in the paint. But outside of that, we need some guys to make their presence known because that is a
Yes.
recipe for failure, getting outscored by that many points
Yes.
on
Rebounding.
back-to-back games.
Yes, rebounding and fast break. Like we said before, I mentioned this earlier. In these three losses, they have averaged just around 8 points on fast breaks.
It's crazy.
Again, with the team that has the fastest pace and averaging the most fast break points per game in the NBA, and in three straight games, all against sub 500 teams. Like I know we said some things about the first two teams they played were really good, and I'm pretty sure. Let me double check the Nets. I want to make sure. Okay, no, I'm sorry. Brooklyn is above 500. I apologize. It's 39-29. But
Yeah,
the previous three teams were under 500. They won
that's
one of them.
inexcusable. That
Yeah,
makes it
that
excusable.
can't happen. Yeah, you can't go 1-3 when you play three straight teams under 500. Like
Yeah.
that can't happen. They should have went 3-0, and then if they lost against Brooklyn, then you're like, okay, at least they lost against a team above 500. But the fact that they're 1-3 now in the last week, when three of those four teams are under 500, it's unacceptable. Again, not panicking, not freaking out, but this can't happen. And I'm hoping that this is where they get it out of their system, and then they're able to restart, refresh, go out on the road, get some victories, which is where they have struggled. They're great at home, and they're just kind of meh on the road. They're at exactly 500 on the road. So if they can go out and they can flip this on its head, and they go out and dominate this road trip and go like 4-1 or even 3-2, I'll just take a winning record over the next 5 games. I think that they're in great position and just rolling into the playoffs and are able to kind of get this out of their system now, so that way they can reconcentrate, get over whatever it is now, whether it's boredom, melancholy, whatever the case is, get it out of their system,
That
move on,
reminds me of
be better.
the wedding singer when he's like making that song. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
You seen the wedding singer, right? We had him Sandler.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's over there just singing all that sad song. I haven't heard that word in a long time. Melancholy. I'm not gonna sing the song because it's
I
very.
know, I got you.
I'm not going to embarrass
We're
myself.
not going to go that way. We're not going to go that far, but yeah, no, yeah, I know. Pulling out those words for you. There you go. Bringing up nostalgia. But yeah, they're coming up. Their next game, they're crossing the border, going to play Toronto for the second time in a week. Will this second unit join them?
Mm. I know the Toronto Raptors want that one back. The Eastern Conference playoff race is getting pretty hefty, and it's
Yes.
getting towards that time of year. We're going to the. I don't even know what the Toronto Raptors arena name is. Is it called Air Canada Center still? Something
I
like that.
honestly have no clue, bro.
Something like I was trying to make an introduction, like we're going to the Air Canada, you know what I mean? Trying to build it up, but obviously I
I got you.
can't do that because I forgot
I'm
forgot the
sorry, I
name of the
can't.
arena. The
Sorry, I let you down, brother. I can't help you there.
the home that Vince Carter and Kawhi Leonard built, apparently, even though
Yes.
he stayed there for 1 year. But it's gonna be a tough dogfight. That's the next game. Is that the next game?
Yeah, it's
Oh
Scotiabank
man, Scotia
Arena.
Bank.
By the way.
Okay.
I don't know
Scotia
what you would have done with that.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah. You know, I could have thrown them on a throwback. I could have just the Air Canada. I know it was called the Air Canada Center at one point. or
At
something
one
like
point,
that,
yeah,
but
at some point, I'm
every,
sure.
every
But no, it's Scotiabank
it's
Arena
just
now.
like every team has gotten new contractual agreements with like different
That's because they don't do what
brands.
they used to do. Like especially what the Rockies did. Like this is one thing that's really come back to bite the Rockies, and nobody talks about it. They gave Coors
Mhm.
their naming rights in perpetuity, which means that they get them forever for free. So it is forever Coors Field as long as Coors is an entity. It's also why
Man,
Miller Coors is called Miller Coors, is because they didn't want to give up the naming rights to Coors Field. So there's a couple
Really?
of tidbits for you. Yes.
God
So
damn, man.
so a lot of teams, what they've done is back in the day, you would get these 10, 20-year naming rights deals.
Hmm.
That doesn't happen anymore. Now, at the most, you're going to get somewhere between 3 to 5. So
Yeah.
that's why names change so much. Also, you have a lot of these places that they get places like Scotiabank or Empower Field, which are companies nobody knows anything
No.
about,
Yeah.
Ball Arena, things like that. So when they do get an offer from a recognizable, like the Superdome turned into the Mercedes Dome because
Mhm.
well, it's Mercedes, and they were able to pay them a lot of money. So that's why you see these names change the way they are because they're just not done the way they were, and you will never see something like Coors ever again. Like as long as Coors is an entity, they own the naming rights to Coors Field for free. They don't pay them anything.
That's crazy, man. Oh my god. Imagine if they did pay him. You think we at least do something with these free agents? I mean, I know they
You would
paid Rich
hope
Ryan a boatload of money, but still, like it can't just
that
go
was
all to
just
one guy.
yeah, no, that was all about filling up the party deck. That's all
Yeah.
that Dick Mofford cares about. He just cares about people showing up to Coors Field. He doesn't care if the Rockies actually win.
Uh,
He can sit here and claim all he wants, but the fact of the matter is, he's pumped more money into McGregor Square and Coors Field than he has his roster.
mhm,
That tells you all you need to know of where his priorities lie.
mhm.
It's about making money, baby. Ain't about winning. And
That's
until the
right.
Rockies have a new owner, that's unfortunately what it's going to be. But
That's
let's stop talking about crappy franchises and get back to one that actually knows what they're doing. Um, Again, Denver's going across the border, playing Toronto, second time in a week. I do believe that the Raptors are going to want one back. They are wanting it big
mm.
time. But the thing that's coming against them is the fact that the Nuggets
I've lost
haven't
three
won.
straight. Yeah, they've lost three straight.
Played them, so they're just as hungry. And I think that's
Mm.
actually a good thing. I think if they would have went into this with a winning streak, I would have
Yeah.
predicted them to lose. But this one, it's got me up in the air now.
How,
But
how much are we putting this in as a factor? The jet lag and daylight savings. How much are we going to put that in as a factor for this game?
I mean, I don't think
That,
daylight
that can
savings, but
that can.
definitely jet lag because they are going across multiple time zones and they have to deal with customs and all that stuff going across the border. So
Yeah.
I'm 100% with you. I think all of those things factor in, but these are also professionals. They get an extra day. They're flying tonight. That way, they make sure that they get through customs and all of that without any issue and have a full day of rest. Maybe a light practice tomorrow, and then they hit the court on Tuesday. So, as much as you would like to think those would be, I don't think you can really use those as excuses on this one. If they lose this game, it's simply because Toronto was the better team. I don't want to give the Nuggets any outs in this. They have to win this game, and they don't get to use any excuses in my book.
Yeah, I think this is the perfect challenge game right here. You got the Raptors who have the same not the same mentality as the Nuggets do, but they have that. They understood we played them exactly a week to the date. Tomorrow,
Yep.
we'll play Tuesday, right?
Yeah, Tuesday.
So
So an extra day, but close enough.
yeah, so that loss isn't as far fetched. I normally play them twice a year, so they should already be thinking we want to at least want to get one of those games for themselves. But the Nuggets, they are coming off that 3-game skid. So it's gonna show what the Nuggets are made of. If they can go in there and they can still win and they're playing in a hostile environment, they can snatch a win, then all panic, if you're even panicking, should go away completely. Because the Nuggets, yeah, they lose 3 in a row, but they go out there, they go to a team that's just as hungry as they are, go into their house and steal a victory. We'll see
Yeah,
what they're
I
about.
agree. Yeah, the Nuggets should be able to do this, considering that as good as the Raptors are, there are some serious holes in this roster. I mean, they are 23rd in assists per game, so they play a very selfish game. The Nuggets are second
Mhm.
in assists per game, to tell you just the differentiation between the way these two teams play. Field goal percentage as well. The Nuggets are first at 50.8% across the field. The Raptors are 26th at 45.5%. And then when you go to 3-point percentage, it gets even worse. You have the Nuggets at first at 38.9%, damn near at that 40% they've been at all year. And then the Raptors all the way down at 28 at 33%. that's why I
Oh,
believe
I
that the
thought you
last
said they were
game was
shooting
a
28%. I was like, what? They
no,
shooting
no,
28%.
33.
Okay.
Not much better, not much better, but yeah,
Yeah.
they're at least over 30
30, yeah,
from
30,
three.
yeah.
But they're still only four. That's the 33% from three, but 45% from the floor. That's terrible, y'all.
Yeah, that
That is
is.
why I believe the last game was a bit of a mirage. I
Mhm.
think that the Nuggets come out, they play to their peak performance, which they should be. They should be nice, rested. Hopefully, Jamal Murray will be back on the court. Again, a scare with his left knee, the surgically repaired knee, but it seems like it was just soreness, and they kept him out just to be safe for the rest of the game today. No, he should be back out on the court. If he's not, then we can start worrying. But until then, I'll digress and listen to what the reports are. I do believe that the Nuggets finally do snap this. I can't imagine that they go on a 4 game losing streak and that they allowed this team and Fred Van Vliet, who went out there and said some things that might have been a little bit post worthy. So we'll see if the Nuggets come out with a little bit extra fire, especially after the Zach Collins fiasco with MPJ and seeming like teams really want to test and see if the Nuggets are soft or not. I think they come out and start showing that they got some metal, and this is the game where it really starts showing up, and I think they beat Toronto.
Yeah, with the Jamal Murray ordeal, I think it might be a little more serious than we think with the injury if he doesn't show up. This is a guy who's from Canada, from Kitchener, who's not pretty much far from Toronto. You can't tell me that the Nuggets only go there once a year and he's gonna willingly sit out. If he can do anything in his power to play in this game in front of his hometown, then I think he will. But if he sits out, then you can know that it is a coach's decision and they just want to rest him, and it might be a little more, maybe serious is the wrong word to use, but a little bit more, more focused on
Really,
more load management, if you will,
yeah.
just to
Yeah,
protect
as
him.
much as we hate that word,
Yeah.
I'm okay with it with a guy that's coming off of as serious an injury as he has had. So,
Yeah. So if
um, what's your prediction?
uh,
Toronto Nuggets, who wins?
I'm taking Jamal to be out there, and the Nuggets gonna come back, shake the rust off. They're gonna win in another tight, close game. It's gonna be 105-110.
Nice. I like where your head's at. Then the next up is that how does the Nuggets avoid despair and Detroit against another really bad
Mm.
team, something that we just dealt with San Antonio? How do they avoid repeating history so quickly?
Yeah, this can't happen in back-to-back weeks. You can't go. I know you're on the road, but you can't lose to a bad team like that on the road. I don't. These are gimmies, especially after a 3 game losing streak. The Nuggets know that. Michael Malone knows that. Nikola Jokic knows that. 1 through 15 knows that. Rocky
Yep.
knows that. The mascot. So it's going to be a dub going into the Motor City. I think this might be a dub that the Nuggets need. They're going to show their anger, because I don't think they're going to be able to show their anger against the Toronto Raptors. They're just playing for too much, the same as the Nuggets are.
Yeah.
So I could see the Nuggets winning between 15 to 20 hitting in the Motor City.
Yeah. I think Detroit's going to catch a butt whooping that wasn't meant for them. Like this is going to be the
They've got a
revenge
lot of
from
those.
San
They've got a
Antonio.
lot of those.
Yeah, they got a lot of those. They be catching strays all the time, and especially when you have like the last couple of weeks have completely decimated this roster. Just since March 3rd, Boyan Bogdanovic, Alec Burks, Hamidou Diallo, Jaden Ivey, and Marvin Bagley III have all hit the injured list, and they're all there, and none of them are expected to be back for Denver.
Mhm.
If that's the case, then I mean, I'm gonna say this hyperbolically, but it's kind of true. Is the Nuggets could play their bench and still should be able to win this game. Like it's that bad in
Well,
Detroit. I feel
who
sorry.
the
I mean,
hell is
this
there
is
for
a nice one.
Detroit? I know they
And
traded.
Kate Cunningham. That's about it.
He's out for the year. Cade Cunningham's out, yeah.
Yeah, but he still leads the team in assists per game at 6. How about that?
He still qualifies. He
Right?
still qualifies.
He's
Yeah.
still up there. But yeah, that's how bad it is in Detroit. Like there's nothing left in Detroit. Like let me pull up. Let's see who's there. The,
I
their
know.
leading scorer that's actually still there is James Wiseman at 12.3 points per
I
game.
forgot they acquired Wiseman. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
highest scoring average of anybody.
Because they had
5 of their top 6 scorers are all on injured.
they
On,
had
all on the injured list.
Sadiq Bey, but they dealt him at the deadline to Atlanta.
Yeah,
And Sadiq Bey I think he was up around 17, 18 points per game, which isn't like in today's NBA highest points you want per game on your team
So
from an
yeah, their
individual
leading
player.
scorer is Bogdan Bogdanovic at 21.6 points per
21,
game.
but he's out
Yeah.
though. You said,
Yeah, but he's out.
yeah,
Yeah, their
yeah,
top
he's out.
five scorers that they have are
I mean,
gone. They're
it,
out. Their second leading scorer is
yeah,
Cade
yeah.
Cunningham, who just ends
You
out for the
know,
year. Then there's James Ivey at 15.4, Alec Burks at 12.8, James Wiseman at 12.3, and Marvin Bagley the third at 11.4. The only one of those guys I just named that's still on the court is James Wiseman. That's it. All the rest,
right?
and everybody
That's
else, there's only one other
so,
guy that averages double
and
digits. Stewart. That's it.
that's shocking because the Warriors traded Wiseman, the former first overall pick, because he couldn't stay healthy, and apparently he
Right?
wants to stay healthy for the Detroit Pistons. Like
When
he just,
everybody else is falling down around him, he's the only one standing up.
yeah, that's crazy, man. That's
That's
ridiculous.
insane. But yeah, so I think we're both in agreement. Nuggets are going to go in and absolutely monitor. So regardless of what happens in Toronto, the streak ends in the next two games. So
Yeah,
I'm still going. I'm
for
still sticking with
and if
Toronto.
they lose,
Yeah, it's
like,
going to be a win.
night panic.
But yes, yeah, this game right here, it should be a cakewalk. We should not see Jokic after probably I'd say 3 minutes into the third quarter. After that, there
Oh
should be no starter left on the court. Like that's how bad it should be. Now, crossing fingers it doesn't happen otherwise, but
no,
that's how it should be when you're playing a bunch of guys on two-way contracts, ones that you pulled out of the G League, and a bunch of other guys that you pulled off of like the couch and stuff. Like that's how it should be. So we're not going to go too much further on this one. We got one more game to preview real quick before we get out of there. The Knicks are the next team up. Final game on Saturday. Early game, 11
mm,
a.m. start time here in Mountain Time. Against the Knicks, who have fallen hard. They had that big win streak. Now they've lost three straight. Can Denver continue to bring them back down to earth?
yeah. So after this podcast, I'm gonna actually go watch this game, the Knicks versus the Lakers. And this is actually pretty good preparation, I think, to get an idea of what kind of Knicks team this really is. Is it the one that's living on a prayer? I mean, I know they won 9 straight games at one point, and it was about a week ago.
Like bringing out the Bon Jovi there.
Yeah, you know what it is, man. But losing 3 games in a row is what the Knicks seem most likely. Like that's the original Knicks that we all know. Those are your grandfather's Knicks. Oh no, excuse me. The 9 wins in a row are your grandfather's Knicks. They haven't won a championship in 50 years. The three
Right.
losses in a row are your grandson's Knicks, and that's who they are. That's where the time we're living in is the grandson Knicks. They're all
Yeah,
right, I guess. I don't know what the hell Julius Randle was doing in the 3-point contest this year, but these don't let them fool you
I
and
don't
let you
either.
think that he's a versatile scorer because he's all right, but he's not as good as the media wants you to
But he
make him
does
believe.
average a double double.
He's all right. He's all right.
Yeah, yeah,
He's-
he's good. Like I don't think Julius Randle is what everybody wants him to be. It's simply because he's in New York. He gets
yeah, he's in the New York
amplified.
market. That's about it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like if he was in Denver, nobody would know who Julius
Yeah.
Randle is. Even if he was averaging 30 points on top of the
My
25
God,
points that he's
bro,
averaging
could
right
you
now.
imagine if Nikola was in New York? Like he would be a
I'm
god.
saying we've had this
Bro,
conversation enough, and
bro,
I'm with you 100% on
bro,
it,
he
bro.
would,
Like there would be no talk. There would be nobody talking about Embiid,
oh,
Luca. Nobody. There would
none,
be no other talk
none.
other than Nikola Jokic doing what he is doing here in Denver, in New York. There would be nothing else talked about. And SpongeBob SquareFace would not be talking about racist voters or
Yeah, yeah,
stat padding. Like that would never have been an even close to a narrative. Like it's insane that that was even brought up. And I, JJ Redick, my guy, I salute you, my guy. That's all I got to say on that one. I love.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't really care much for JJ Redick before the last couple of weeks, but chef's kiss, my guy, for taking on
Hey, took him on, man. Took him on. You know, it's funny is because Kendrick
waxed him.
Perkins,
I'm sorry, he waxed the hell out of him.
bro, look this up. Kendrick Perkins, he has no highlight, like real highlights on YouTube. If you look up Kendrick Perkins highlights, it's gonna be a 5-minute video of sarcasm. It's gonna be 5 minutes of Kendrick Perkins doing the most idiotic things. Like people like
Yeah,
that should not be allowed to talk basketball. I don't care if you played in the
no.
NBA. But you see, JJ Redick, he was a sharpshooter for the majority of his career. Richard Jefferson's on there. I think
Yes.
he had an all-star appearance. Jay Williams, he's on there. He was, before he had that freak motorcycle accident with the Bulls, he was supposed to be their savior. Won any games since Michael Jordan. Jay Williams was supposed to be their savior. I mean, majority of those guys know what they're talking about. They've had, all right or borderline okay NBA careers. Kendrick Perkins, like, what did
Mhm.
he do? He won a championship off of the coattails of Paul Pierce and
I mean,
Kevin
technically, I
Garnett
think
and Ray Allen.
I don't know. Yeah, well, like his claim to fame, and this is the grossest thing ever, is because, dude, you never shot any more than 2 feet from the basket. But
Yeah,
he held the field goal percentage record in Boston until this year, where some guy on the team passed him. It's like, dude, you never did any, like, again, like I just
how
said,
many
he
shots
never
was he
shot farther
taking?
than 2 feet from the basket, bro. Like,
And,
of course you're gonna have a high field goal percentage when 99% of your shots are within your forearm of the
yeah,
rim.
and you're
Come
only
on, dude.
taking one shot a game or two shots a game.
Right.
And bro,
Maybe a handful at most. Your job is to just sit in there and be a big body, like like Charles Barkley was supposed to be on the defensive end. Like you were the defensive version of Charles Barkley without the offense. Like bro, and you weren't even that good defensively. Like I'm with you. I don't get why Kendrick Perkins, outside of the fact that he is absolutely as far up Stephen A's behind as you could possibly be when he's 7 foot and Stephen A's like 4 foot two. Like I
with high
mean,
heels on.
right? Like I
With
mean,
high heels on.
that's the only thing that makes sense of why he gets as much airtime at ESPN because Stephen A. essentially runs ESPN.
Hmm.
I mean, he does things that would get most people punched in the face in a TV studio. Like when he took over Get Up, I think it was last week. Like he literally went out and snatched the microphone from Mike Greenberg. I mean, yeah, he was doing something
I mean, it was
funny.
Mike Greenberg though. Is Mike Greenberg gonna hit it? I know he ain't doing that to Keyshawn Johnson. I know that.
I know what I'm saying, but I'm saying like who does that? Like what kind of audacity do you have to
Yeah.
go to a completely different person's show that you literally come up on behind and take over a show just so that you can tell somebody on his show that you like his suit jacket?
Yeah.
Like your whole thing was like I had to interrupt the show so I could tell another man how good he looked. Like that was weird. Like I don't know. That was on the level of Nathaniel Hackett and oogling Sierra in front of Russell Wilson. Weird. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it was really weird.
That,
Like I don't know. It was just uncomfortable. But talking about uncomfortable, that is my feeling of this Nuggets and Knicks game. This has me feeling uncomfortable that the Nuggets are kind of reeling, the Knicks are kind of reeling, and when you put two struck dogs in a circle together, one tends to come out alive and the other one not so much alive. And that's what this could be, is just a
is it
straight up dog fight.
is it
This
gonna be
could
in?
be
It's in New York, right? It's in New York, right?
yes, the next five
Oh,
games are on the road.
the
All
road, yeah.
this entire week is road games, and the first two games of next week
You
are
know,
road games.
East
Yeah,
Coast
they don't
road
have
trip.
yeah, they don't have a another home game for another 10 days. So
This is gonna be a
like
game
the
where
end of next week.
playoff atmosphere. This is just gonna feel nothing like
Yes.
everything like a playoff game, nothing like a regular season game. And it's not just a playoff game.
Instant
This is
classic.
East Conference versus West Conference. Now I'm not saying the
Yes.
Knicks are having any chance to represent the East in the finals, but we can live a hypothetical and see who comes out on top.
Right. Yeah,
This
I think
is
this is a very good measuring stick for the Nuggets. See where they measure up against the other conference because the next time they really play the Eastern Conference is going to be when it matters, when it is in the finals, when it is for all of the marbles. Is This is going to be a great game that's going to show us where they measure up against the other conference. So with all that said, with the uneasiness, I think the Nuggets are going to go on another roll, and they have that maddening tendency to play up and down to their opponent, and I think that they're going to do that again on this coming Saturday. It's going to be an early game. You can talk about jet lag and being on the road and all those things. Madison Square Garden. Jokic loves the lights. He loves playing in these historic venues. He loves the Staples Center. He loves Madison Square Garden. So I see that as a boon, not a bust. And I see the Nuggets coming out of this with a victory. It's going to be squeaky. I think this goes to overtime, and this could be one of those crazy games. It's like 150 to 149.
Well, I'm all agreement with you there, just because the Nuggets defense, it doesn't seem like it can stop
God, yes.
the Knicks from scoring 120. The Knicks can get buckets. They really can. They have a good young core. I mean, R.J. Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly,
Agreed.
who we all wanted Bones Highland to be. And it hurts a lot because
Right.
Emmanuel Quickly looks like a spitting image of Bones Highland, just a little uglier. He's
He
real
does.
skinny and bony. He has the dreads, you know.
He looks like he should be. He looks like he should be
Yeah.
named Bones. Agreed.
Yeah, man, and he's a leading candidate for six man of the year. That's everything we wanted in Bones, was to be a
Yes.
6 man leader. So,
Agreed.
hopefully we don't see Emmanuel quickly drop a lot of Nuggets tears out there, because that's who Bones should have been. Emmanuel quickly is very clutch,
Agreed.
especially for his age. So, we're gonna see what happens, man. This is Jokic will be playing against a center and Mitchell Robinson, who is just a complete monster on the boards and on the interior defense. It's gonna be
The
a
paint will be
dogfight.
crucial. Yes.
It's gonna be a dogfight, like you say, man. But I'm taking the Nuggets to take this one out. Joker loves the spotlight, even though he's not flashy any of that special type of look at me NBA
Yes.
star that he isn't. He performs best in these games where the lights are on, and this is where he's gonna have
Agreed.
one of those crazy triple doubles.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I could definitely see another one of those 40-point triple doubles and get that winning streak restarted on those triple doubles. I don't like this 0-2 streak that
No,
they're on right now with the triple doubles.
I like it.
I definitely see that flipping around. So I'm with you, Nick. So I think you seem to be thinking that you're going to go with a 3-0 week again this week. I'm going to go with the 2-1 week.
Mm.
Hopefully,
Going 3-0,
hopefully
baby.
towards you, but I'll take a 2-1 week when it's all said and done.
I'll take 2-1, but you know what?
Yeah,
3-0 sounds
yeah.
nice.
3-0, it sounds real good. So
Yeah.
with all that being said, we do appreciate y'all coming out and joining with us. We did go up a little bit longer than usual, but hey, we gave y'all a little free. We went into overtime ourselves. We were talking about overtime with the Knicks. We went into overtime ourselves, gave y'all a little extra free content there. So I hope y'all enjoyed it. Hope y'all enjoyed our tangents. We were in some really good tangents, I believe, this week. So I hope y'all enjoyed those. We do appreciate y'all as always. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe. As always, go down in the description. All of our social links are there, including Patreon, where again you can go and sign up from $1 to $20 a month to help and support the dream. And again, if we get enough of y'all, maybe we can pay this guy and get him here in a little bit more full time. Same thing with Dylan and all that. So keep that in mind. Keep giving us the love. We'll keep pushing it back towards y'all. The more love y'all give us, the more content we can give y'all. Again, all of those buttons that you hit, they're free for you. All the red buttons, launch the nukes, clear the way so we can bring you the news the way that you deserve, without bias, without BS, with nothing but facts that drive the narrative. For the Nug Life podcast, I am your host, Dan Wetstein. That's Santiago Salazar, my co host. And for the answer is 42. Don't